I'm so excited to be to just be here at NCMR and to be on this stage with you. I also want to acknowledge that we are hosting this conference on the original lands of the Arapaho and Ute and other tribes. My mom tells me that my first name is red, brown, orange, tan, and yellow. Choosing names for her 4 children was a complicated process because not only did the names need to sound good together, as in Andrea Quijada, for her, they had to look good too. My mom has synesthesia, so every letter and number that she hears or reads translates into a color in her mind. She first told me about her amazing gift when I was a little girl, and I used to imagine that her head was some sort of magical kaleidoscope. I wanted to know how to visualize those same colors and uncover this way of seeing. I don't have synesthesia, so I will never have this lens that she has. However, what our conversations taught me is that just because I couldn't see something that she did, didn't mean it wasn't there. I understood that she and I could hear the same words and have a different response to them. And even though what I saw or understood was real and true for myself, asking my mom questions about what she saw was essential for me to learn what I was missing. I learned that perspective matters. Understanding that we each bring our own values and experiences to our interactions with media is a basic premise of media literacy. As a media literacy educator, I train hundreds and sometimes thousands of people each year to deconstruct media. I am confronted with the range of audience interpretations with each media example I use. Some are limited, others validating, and some have even been intentionally hilarious. Those are my favorite. So we're going to deconstruct something. Everything that we see, hear, or read in a piece of media is what we call the text. And the underlying message or our interpretation is the subtext. You got it? Yeah? Okay. So let's just look at this image here. So here we have the text of this image is a photograph of a young black female model with gray eyes, and the graphic is this outlined eye with random colored teardrops spurting out of it. And at the top is a quote attributed to the model that states, "My parents gave me beautiful brown eyes." But that was almost 20 years ago. Chances are you have a little subtext of your own or some sort of response. Anything from brown eyes are outdated and old-fashioned. I bet you didn't know that before. She's not even 20 and she's ancient. Or brown eyes are beautiful, just not as beautiful as gray, green, or blue ones. Or maybe your response is just straight up a little more real and is just sort of like, this is, insert expletive, racist. These subtexts take us down a particular path. Let's pause. Another basic premise of media literacy is that media convey the values, norms, and perspectives of media makers. This example relies on tired ideas of white standards of beauty, which are rooted in white supremacy, to sell color contacts. It's probably obvious to most of us in this room. The thing is, white supremacy is a narrow lens. It's not brown eyes that are outdated and old-fashioned. It's paradigms that serve to limit our ability to create and thrive in a media culture that should expand our ideas of who we are, who we can become, not place borders where there shouldn't be any. Media literacy helps us do that. Media literacy is more than deconstruction. It's also about accessing media tools and learning the skills for media creation. Sometimes media literacy students create a response to an existing message by creating counter ads. So here we have an original ad using some techniques of persuasion. We see the use of bribery in the offering of 5% cash back, and exaggeration in equating the use of a credit card with freedom. And in this counter ad, a 9th grader flipped the frame, and his interpretation is that it's 100% corporate manipulation, and that maybe that revolving door of debt feels more like indentured servitude than freedom. In this next ad, we see a photograph of a model whose appearance alone is expected to persuade viewers to purchase this brand. It's basic fashion photography using the male gaze, which is another narrow lens. Here, a student used humor to tell the other side of the story, asking questions like, guess how much my spray tan cost? Guess what I'm sitting on? And guess where my pants are? My mom is a visual artist. I grew up watching her paint oil on canvas, and I'm still fascinated by how she understands light and form. It's clear that her synesthesia, her ability to see color where many of us can't and don't, directly informs her work. Similarly, the way we analyze media, the lens by which we choose to deconstruct it, informs how we create it. More importantly, the way our movement interprets media informs how we create strategies to change it. Media Literacy Project's Girl Tech program trains young women of color to deconstruct media through a race, gender, and class lens. These intersections are then highlighted as they learn about reproductive justice and as they gain media production skills. Here's a clip from a Girl Tech video directed by Georgia West and Diana Garcia from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
My name is Diana Garcia. When my mom was 14, she gave up custody of her first son because her family had convinced her to do so. 4 years later, my mother gave birth to her second son, but sadly he died before I was born. Being a young mom was never something that my mother was let to be proud of because my grandmother made her feel ashamed about being a young parent. We made this video to show young parents that they are allowed to be proud of who they are, and that the decisions about if, when, and how they raise their children should be their choice.
Georgia and Diana's video is about expanding the narrow frame of family that is normalized in mainstream media. The video continues on to explain the work of Young Women United in making new structures and policies rooted in the needs of all families, not just some of them. For me, these are the media moments I celebrate most, when I witness community members telling their own stories and making their own media. This is the essence of self-determination. I deconstruct media because the right deconstruction questions can deepen our ability to think critically about issues that are central to our daily lives. And these questions allow us the opportunity to hear and learn from perspectives that we may not bring to the table. It expands our way of seeing and increases the spectrum of our own personal kaleidoscopes. Perspective matters. We have so much to celebrate in this moment. The recent announcement by the Associated Press that they have dropped the I word. Quote unquote, taking on the city of Albuquerque to fight for community media. The youth-produced work of Generation Justice and so many others all across the country. I also want to celebrate the media movement of today. I was in Madison, Wisconsin 10 years ago at the first NCMR, and before I presented on my panel, thank you, I was in a conversation with two prominent Latino journalists who used to live in Albuquerque, and I was just getting caught up with them. We hadn't seen each other for a while, when another conference attendee, a white woman, approached us and informed us that the food table was out of food. Yes. To be clear, we were not insulted that she thought we were service workers. We were shocked by her narrow framework that didn't allow for her to imagine us in that space in any other way. Her framework was the result of tired narratives and racist stereotypes. For me, teaching media literacy is about giving people like her and all of us a wider lens. I celebrate the work that so many people in this room have done to shift the conversations, to prioritize communities of color, and to work for media justice over the past decade to make our media movement more accountable to our communities. All of these celebrations are the result of vision, strategy, and action. So let's keep up the momentum, because we also have an opportunity and a responsibility in this media moment to center the perspectives and experiences of communities at the margins. Let's make it happen. Thank you.